Hey everyone, so I'm back with a video. So today I'm going to be making a video which is totally unrelated to, well, I guess it kind of ties in with fashion and beauty, but I'm actually going to be talking about budgeting today and basically how I budget my money, how I can afford to live the kind of, I guess, lifestyle that I do without, ending up in debt. And yeah, I just wanted to talk you guys through kind of how I manage my money, because I get a lot of questions asking me how I afford to live the way I do. Before I get started, I'm going to explain why I have such a ridiculous amount of makeup on, even for me. And that's because I was a model today for a local designer, and she was putting a video together for her spring-summer collection. And yeah, I was lucky enough to get cast as a model, and it was really exciting, it was really fun. I was at the studio for nearly 10 hours, so it was a really full-on day, but I'm really excited to see the results. And yeah, this is the kind of makeup that I had on. I had a makeup artist do it for me, but I had a black wig on and we had these veils covering our faces, so it wasn't as, you could just see it through the veils. Anyway, basically, yeah, so before I get heaps of comments saying you look like a drag queen, yeah, there's a reason why I have so much makeup on. And the reason why I didn't take it off for this video is because I have no idea how I'm going to get off all this glitter. It seriously is like solid on my face and I don't actually want to think about it. It's really like packed on there pretty solid, so much so that I can actually barely open my eyes. But yeah, it was an amazing day, and so that's why I have so much makeup on. Anyway, but I really want to make a video, so I decided just to leave the glitter on and continue forth. So I'm going to start off with a little kind of history about how my little money story, I guess, because I'm happy to share that with you guys. Yeah, basically I started working from when I was old enough to work when I was in high school. Got a casual job on the weekends just for a bit of extra money, and I continued working throughout university. I worked part-time. So I've always worked for my own money. My parents, other than obviously living at home and education and stuff, I've been pretty self-sufficient in terms of buying myself fun things, whatever, through high school and university. So I've always kind of, appreciated money because I've had to work really hard for it. And I'm really happy that, that's been how my life has been. I'm really happy to work for my own stuff. And I continue to work through school and university. And my mum is like really good with stuff like budgeting and stuff, and she always tried to ingrain into me how to manage my money, and I was pretty hopeless until I moved out of home. I'm not gonna lie. I was never really good with my money. I worked really hard, but I never really kind of kept an eye on it. I never thought through my purchases. I bought things on a whim and I ended up with a whole bunch of crap. So when I moved to Melbourne, I had to get rid of so much stuff because I just basically didn't think about where my money was going. So I moved to Melbourne April last year, and I went from living at home to paying for a studio apartment in the city on my own. And so obviously that was a huge change for me, and on top of that, I had to pay for bills, all my food, just basic living expenses. So pretty much got to be an adult now, and that was obviously a bit scary, but the experience has really kind of given me a better kind of appreciation of where my money goes. And so over that time I've learned a lot about how to manage my money. I get asked a lot on YouTube. I get heaps of questions like, do your parents pay for all your clothes and your makeup, and how do you afford to live in your apartment and everything? I pay for everything myself. Usually I'm working like somewhere between 5 and 7 days a week, on top of like all the other kind of creative projects I want to do, like photo shoots and stuff like that. Yeah, so I have to work pretty hard to be able to afford things that I do. And But it's in saying that, you know, like I'm not quite in my dream job yet, and I'm pretty much just working like retail jobs on top of doing like creative things on the side, and I don't earn a lot of money, but I know how to manage my money. So that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. Okay, so the first tip that I'm going to give to you guys, which is pretty obvious, but I guess it's something that is really important to know anyway, is don't spend money you don't have. So for me, I would personally never get a credit card, and I would never want to be in debt. It's something that I would kind of fear. I think that money can be really stressful, and if you're in debt, it is a lot of stress and it's quite hard to deal with. So don't put yourself under that stress. There's no reason that if you're young and you don't have responsibilities like paying for a mortgage and, you know, caring for a child, that you should have to have a credit card. You should not need one. I think that when you're older, like you're much older and you buy your own home and yeah, you have to care for children, then I can understand why you would need a credit card, because, you know, things could get tight, you know, things could get hard. But for me personally, I don't want to have a credit card. Having debt is a burden on you. It is a massive burden on your mind. And the next point I'm going to make is that you can't have it all. This is my next point. Everyone kind of has their special little thing that they like to spend their money on, whether it be traveling or living in an expensive house or apartment, or buying nice clothes, buying, you know, records, whatever it is. You know, everyone kind of has their thing that they like to spend their money on. And for me, it's quite clearly I like to spend my money on clothes and makeup and everything to do with that, because that's what I'm really passionate about. And I can't buy all of those things and expect every other aspect of my life to be as glamorous. You know, I spend money on an expensive dress. I can't afford to eat at a 5-star restaurant. My point is, you know, really think, what is the thing that I really like to spend my money on the most? You know, maybe you really like to travel, whatever. If you really like to travel, then you probably shouldn't be buying really expensive clothes all the time, really expensive meals, and expecting to go traveling as well, because that's when you go and get a credit card, and yeah, that's when all that happens. So I really like to spend my money on my clothes and makeup and everything. So when it comes to my food, when it comes to going out, everything else, I really, really budget it. I really watch where my money goes. I also, you know, like to spend money on my living in my apartment, because I really love living in the city and I love to live alone. So yeah, that's another cost for me. I would definitely recommend sitting down and thinking about what you like to spend your money on the most, and concentrate on budgeting everything else so you can afford to buy those things. So before you actually start budgeting, I would really recommend having a normal, regular week where you just spend money like you usually would, but this time log down everything that you spend, every single cent. You know, whether you buy a lollipop at the service station, or, you know, you get an upgrade on your meal or whatever. You have to write it down in a book and keep record for a week. And if you look back on that week, you're going to find so many things that you bought over that week that were unnecessary. And that is another thing, it really brings it home when you look at a piece of paper that says like where all your money goes, how you manage to spend so much money on random crap. Do keep a 1-week log, and this will really help you to see where your pitfalls are, where you're spending money unnecessarily. And my next tip is, you know, now that you kind of have an idea on where all your money goes and everything, is to set up a kind of system where you allocate a certain amount of money out of every pay to each of the things that you need to pay for. So the way that I do this is I use envelopes, and I actually don't have the envelopes here right now, but yes, I use envelopes, and I basically keep 3 envelopes, and one of them I keep for my bill money, one of them I keep for food, and one of them I keep for going out. And I keep my rent money and my spending money usually just in my bank account. The first thing that I do when I get paid is, also another tip, is use online banking. every time I get paid, I take out my money for my rent, I put it in a separate bank account and I don't touch it. So it's kind of like that money doesn't even exist. I don't have that money. That money is not there. And if you just do that and get into the routine of putting money away every week and not touching it, and it's the same amount every week, it'll become so easy to you, like it'll become like second nature. And I do the same thing with my savings. So I try to save a little bit of money every week, as well as putting money away for rent, and I put that into a separate bank account as well. And then that way that money is untouchable. I'm not allowed to go near that money. With the money that I have left over, I put money into one account, one envelope for my bills, which will accumulate over the month. I put money in another envelope for my food, and I put another one in my envelope for going out. Basically, for me, if I have cash money, I find it's a lot harder to part with cash money than it is to use your card, because you can just hand over your card, but actually handing out physical money I find is harder to do. So I try to use physical money when I can, because it just makes it harder for me to frivolously spend my money without thinking about it. So when I do my food shopping, I set a budget every week, and I go out, I do my food shopping, and once that money's gone, then it's gone, and I have to basically just use up what is left in my cupboards and my fridge and stuff until the end of the week. And I find, setting that budget amount is a really great thing to do. Another thing with food, I have a feeling this is going to be a long video, I'm sorry. Another thing with food is I make a food plan in one of my journals, and I usually have a little think the week before on kind of what I'm going to eat that week, and that way I can kind of map out how much it's going to cost me, and it deters me from buying like unnecessarily expensive food. My envelope for going out, I swear, if you have a think about, oh no, I have no idea where all my money goes, and you've kept that log, have a look at how much money you spent on alcohol, taxis, going out in a week, and you'll probably find, if you're around my age, that it's quite a lot of money. And you can blow so much money on a weekend without even thinking about it. So for me, when I go out on the weekend, I take cash money with me. I carry my card on me only for emergencies. And once I've spent that money for the night, that's it. I can't buy any more drinks. I can't, do anything else. I can't go to another club because that money is gone. I really recommend when you're going out, taking cash money and spending that, because then you're less likely to use your card and, spend $200 in a night and regret it the next day. As for my actual spending money for my clothes and makeup and everything, the reason why it stays in my bank account is because I pretty much buy everything that you see in my videos online. I buy most of my makeup online, I buy most of my clothes online, and the reason I do that is because Australia is an incredibly expensive place to live in terms of buying makeup and fashion and all that, so I buy everything online. And I buy a few things in the stores from time to time, vintage stores or whatever, but generally speaking I shop online. And if you are really into fashion and whatever and makeup and you live in Australia, I really recommend, get an eBay account, but give yourself limits, because that's also another downfall. You don't want to get addicted to internet spending, which can happen. But I, set aside my money for spending, and I usually just buy everything online. You'd be amazed how much money you can save on things when you buy stuff online. And tying into that, like I said before, when I was younger, I used to spend money on stuff that I didn't really need, and that was before I started making wish lists. And now what I do is I have this book, The Style Journal, from Moleskine, and it's basically my style Bible, and I put everything in here. I keep notes in here, and I put a page in there with my wish list, and that way I can plan my purchases ahead. I can think, is this going to work well in my wardrobe? Am I going to get a lot of wear out of this item? If I buy this makeup product, am I going to use it a lot? And thinking through your purchases is really wise, because that's really why I have so much stuff, because I've had a lot of this stuff for years because I thought it through before I bought it. Another good thing about wish lists is when you know what you want, it gives you a better chance to shop around for a better price. If you go impulse spending, impulse buying, and you go shopping and you see a really cute pair of shoes and you just buy them, a lot of the time you'll find out that you could get those exact same shoes somewhere else cheaper, or they might go on sale the following week. Another thing about my wardrobe and my clothes and everything is you'll probably notice that on eBay I regularly sell my clothes, or I have swap meets and things. That's because, you know, I'm all about out with the old, in with the new. I try not to get attached to stuff because a lot of the time if I do want new stuff, I'm going to have to part with something else to get the money for it. So I do regularly sell things. So if you're thinking about, you know, selling stuff on eBay or whatever, it's a really great way to make some extra money, and it's a great way to kind of clear some space in your wardrobe. So definitely, you know, allow yourself to part with things so that you can buy new stuff. And also, you know, sometimes I'm like, I have nothing to wear, I'm all about the DIY right now, so a lot of items in my wardrobe I might have not considered wearing before, but, you know, a simple bringing up of the hem or adding some studs or adding some glitter or whatever, you know, that item is a whole new item in my wardrobe and it's cost me nothing to change it. So really, you know, try to work your wardrobe around in new ways, try to change things, alter things, because it's better than having to go out and buy new clothes. Just editing something. Like, I bought the Jeffrey Campbell Lita shoes and I love them, and I decided that I wanted to DIY them, so I added rainbow laces to them and it cost me like $3 just to buy some ribbons from the craft store. And, you know, there you go, that's personalised shoes. And you can do stuff like that for so cheap, and, you know, then you have something personal and fun. And like I said, you know, with having aspects of things in your life that you like to spend money on and budgeting on the rest, I try to, you know, do a lot of fun things for cheap. So I really, you know, I'm really passionate about makeup and stuff, so a lot of the time if I'm poor, I'll just stay home and I'll watch a few movies. I might muck around with some makeup, do some face charts, do some drawing, because that doesn't cost me anything to do it. And so I really recommend, you know, getting some hobbies and stuff that are pretty much free to do, because, you know, that's a great way to save money. And then just other things like, you know, going to the library instead of buying books, bringing your own drinks to work instead of buying, you know, really expensive soft drink every day. There's so many ways that you can cut in your life and you just don't realise. Like my cleaning and stuff in my apartment, you know, I try to budget with my cleaning products and my laundry products and everything. Another thing that I have, which is kind of cute, is I have a piggy bank, and whenever I have spare change, I throw the change in the piggy bank, and once it's full I take it to the bank and they've got a coin counter. And you'll usually find that when one of these fills up, you have like a couple of $100 there. And that's just kind of my fun money. Whatever I want to buy, like I might want to go makeup shopping, or maybe, you know, you just want a day of impulse shopping. Then I use the piggy. And I save money in my piggy over a couple of months, and once it's full, then I can have a fun day of shopping, guilt-free. So every little cent counts. By now you're probably thinking, okay, this is really regimented and I don't know if I'm happy to do this. If you want to buy whatever you want and live comfortably and live debt-free, then you really need to have structure on how you spend your money. But having a regimented budget does not mean that, you know, you're not going to have fun. If anything, having a budget there for you will give you freedom. It'll give you total freedom, because you can spend guilt-free, you can afford to buy whatever you want, and yeah, you can live the life that you want without having to stress about your bills next week because you bought, you know, too many things on a whim. So I really, you know, having that budget there is going to change your life, because it did for me. Really, really changed my life, having a budget. If you are in financial trouble, obviously, you know, I'm not an expert, this is just kind of my personal opinions on everything, then really try to get help and sort out your problem before it becomes worse, because I know that, sometimes it just feels easy just to ignore your bills and forget about them, but at the end of the day, you're really going to suffer long term. You have to address the problem, face forward, you have to deal with the problem, and that way, it's not going to spiral out of control, which is how you see all these people on the news that end up with these massive, massive debts, and it just starts off with the smallest things like ignoring your bills. So, really try to stay on top of things like paying your bills. On my calendar on the wall, my monthly planner, I mark out when all my bills are due. I put down the date when they're going to be issued and the date that they're going to be due. So yeah, that is pretty much how I live my life, and that is why I have so much cool stuff, because I work hard and I'm good with my money. And if you're still unsure about the whole thing and there's more that you want to learn, then a few books that I have here is, I'm a really big fan of budget books. I really like reading stuff like that. I've got the Spend Less Handbook, and it's 365 tips for a better way of life while actually spending less. And this is pretty good. It has lots of tips on how to save money, and it starts off basically going on about how becoming totally obsessed with having the highest kind of everything in your life is really bad for your state of mind, which I definitely agree with. As much as I love, everything that I'm into, I never want to be in debt, and I never want it to affect my way of life. I still want to have the freedom to do whatever I want. And I also thought I'd add, with the whole money giving you freedom thing, for me, I really want to live a creative lifestyle my whole life. I want to involve myself in things like fashion shoots, and I want to write, and I want to do makeup and everything like that. I'm always going to want to live a creative lifestyle, and I'm going to have the freedom to do that if I'm good with my money. So, if you're really into if you want to start your own fashion label, or you want to do makeup or whatever, if you're wanting to do that kind of thing, then you're going to need a nest egg. You're going to need some savings, and you're going to need to be good with your money. So I really recommend reading this book. It's really great for tips, and it also really puts it in perspective how bad, not controlling your money can be. And so another book that I like, which is pretty cool, is The Thrifty Girl's Guide to Glamour. And this book basically says, look like $1 million without spending $1 million. So this book just goes through some tips on, how to save money with your wardrobe. Basically, a lot of stuff I said, DIY, and, how to find cheap clothes, how to put together a really awesome, dramatic statement look without needing to spend heaps of money. So books like this are really great as well. It gives you some really great ideas on things that you can have in your wardrobe without having to spend heaps of money. So I know this was a long video. I'm really sorry if this video dragged out for any of you guys, which I'm sure that it did. I'm really sorry. But I really wanted to share this with you. I really wanted to tell you kind of how I live, and how my kind of mantra and what I do. And I hope that you can kind of incorporate some of these tips into your own lives, even if you just take one thing out of this video, because it's really awesome feeling when you can feel, when you don't feel pressure with money. And if you have any questions for me at all, please, let me know. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, but, I might be able to give you some, advice from my personal opinions. And I'm going to be back with another video very soon, and thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you guys soon.